Thank you for the nice introduction. I hope having enjoyed the nice lunch that I will not bore you for some people to sleep during the presentation. But I would say it's nice to be part of this conference community again this year. My presentation will be on the systematic literature review of factors that influence cybersecurity culture by myself and Dr. Jabu Mutueni, who happens to be my promoter. Is my presentation very clear?
Yes, we can see your presentation clearly.
Okay, all right. Then I must state upfront that this paper is part of my bigger research project towards my PhD. So the paper is as a result of a literature review that was conducted in the research. One thing that we can take out of the presentation that has happened since morning before lunch is that indeed cybersecurity is an issue of global concern. The term has been defined as an approach that is used to tackle cyber threats and risk in order to protect the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of cyber threats. As an approach to tackling cyber threats, cybersecurity is confronted with different challenges. As human-related factors happen to be the one that constitute the major cause of cyber incident across the sectors. However, despite human element being considered the biggest contributor to cyber threat, the problem still need adequate attention as cybersecurity efforts tend to focus more on technological solutions. The ever-increasing cybersecurity incidents and the changing landscape of cyber threats, particularly in the sectors like health sectors and financial sector, are still evidence that focusing predominantly on technological solutions has proven insufficient in addressing the problem of cyber security. In a more recent research by Bradley Bell and his co-author, they hold a similar view that the existing perspective on cybersecurity is narrow as it overcomes human elements, but as it overlooks human elements, but rather focuses attention on technological solutions. The inadequate solution to the cybersecurity issue due to insufficient inclusion of human elements positions cybersecurity culture as an important area of research. It has argued in research that the work on cybersecurity culture is still at its infant stage. However, the area is beginning to gain momentum as it being considered a measure that accommodates human elements in an effort towards eradicating cyber threats and cybersecurity challenges. Therefore, the journey to develop the articulated list of cybersecurity culture factors was motivated by the growing need for research on cybersecurity culture. Therefore, the aim of the research was to conduct a systematic review in order to develop a comprehensive and a consolidated list of cybersecurity culture factors. One may ask, why separate cybersecurity culture factor when substantive work has been done on information security culture factors? Let's briefly have a look at the two research terms. Over time, the concept of cybersecurity has predominantly been used interchangeably with information security, and the same applies to the corresponding concepts of cybersecurity culture and information security culture. Given this view, cybersecurity is then defined directly as information security by the IEC. Some authors view cybersecurity to be related, but they are not identical, while for some others, the term cybersecurity is considered as part or component of information security and vice versa. It has also been argued in research that using the term synonymously confuses research community and security practitioners, thereby obscuring the main difference between the two concepts. And that also extends to the concept of information security culture as well as cybersecurity culture. Although in some cases, the terms information security and cybersecurity are used interchangeably, it has emerged that a profound difference exists between the two concepts. One of the differences can be seen by the way the National Institute of Standard and Technology define the terms. Therefore, in addition to other differences between the terms, the critical distinction between the terms is based on the fact that information security focuses on the protection of information within organizational context, while cybersecurity extends to the outside borders of the organization. Information security culture emphasizes behaviors that complies with information security policy, while a cybersecurity culture includes not only compliance to policy, but it also covers personal involvement in organizational cyber safety. Putting all this into consideration, it then becomes essential to identify and try to understand the factors that are attributed to cybersecurity culture, since information security culture has been researched immensely. And to do that, the researcher followed a systematic literature reviewed approach using a PRISMA approach in order to select and to review relevant records and analyze findings that emerged during the review. In the review, the following keywords were used to search the articles that were reviewed, and the publications were limited to 10-year period between 2010 and 2021. Some of the databases searched include ACM, IEEE, the PubMed, Scopus, among others, and both academic and non-academic databases were then searched. The publications that were selected also include academic and non-academic papers, with the focus being to retrieve literature that are related to cybersecurity culture at all levels. The titles and the abstracts of the identified literatures were reviewed and duplicates were removed. Further inclusion and exclusion criteria were applied. After that, the remaining records were then imported to Atlas TI, where the final review was done. During the review, further non-relevant articles were removed and few others were also included from the references of the reviewed articles. So in total, the reviewers reviewed 58 studies. During the review, we came across different definitions or descriptions of cybersecurity in the literature. And based on the existing definitions, the paper then defines cybersecurity as a measure that is used as a performance tool by management to change human characteristics and their socio-cultural measures in order to achieve cybersecurity at all levels of the organization to hinder intentional and unintentional harms. According to these authors, the identified cybersecurity culture factors, which will be presented in the next slide, have been found to be critical in the development, recommendation, maintenance, best practices, or even the framework of cybersecurity culture. Therefore, it is important to note that the identified factors are not only necessarily elements or factors that constitute cybersecurity, but they can also be considered as factors that characterize, challenge, influence, and are used in the development of cybersecurity culture. The absence of then the factors will be regarded as a challenge that inhibits the cultivation and implementation of cybersecurity culture, but the existence of them will be considered a critical success factor for the development and the strengthening of cybersecurity culture. In the review identified 29 cybersecurity culture factors. And then given that Atlas TI was used for the review, a network diagram of the factors identified are then depicted using in this diagram, as well as the relationship that exists between the factors. Based on the review, the top 10 factors that emerged include training and education, awareness, management support, policies and procedure, human behavior, knowledge, a cybersecurity champion or team, organizational culture, engagement, encouragement, and cooperation, as well as budget and resources. These were identified, the top 10 were identified as the top factors because significant number of articles in one way or the other indicated the significance of the factors in the development or in the framework of cybersecurity culture. These factors are considered the top factor, not also necessarily because of their number of occurrences in the literature, but also because of their level of significance in the cultivation, implementation, and maintenance of cybersecurity culture, as well as in the level of association and relationship that they have with other factors. Some of the top factors identified in this review, for instance, the leadership support, awareness, training, policy, are all consistent with the top factors that were also identified in the recent review by Ushendo and its co-authors. However, some of the top factors in the review, such as organizational culture, human factor, budget, and resources, are not even considered at all as cybersecurity factors in the recent review. The remaining other cybersecurity culture factors that were identified on the list include the cybersecurity strategy, the collaboration, commitment, trust, reward and sanction, compliance, among the rest on the list here. The list of cybersecurity culture factors produced in this paper is considered more comprehensive in comparison to the more recent work that aggregated various components of cybersecurity culture. 11 out of the 29 identified factors happen to be missing in the recent review, and those factors include cybersecurity strategy, budget and resources, organizational culture, cybersecurity hub, business continuity plan, physical security, information sharing, measure of effectiveness, as well as collectivism. To conclude, as set out in the research aim, through this review, the authors were able to develop a consolidated and a comprehensive list of cybersecurity culture factors by broadening the search scope to include cybersecurity culture studies at all levels. 11 of the identified factors are additional to the existing list of published cybersecurity culture factors. The consolidated factors will help future researchers in the field and can also help in the development and maintenance of cybersecurity culture, as the developer will be able to consider factors that are level specific but might contribute in building a cybersecurity culture at all levels. The one limitation that is important to note in the paper is that it has not been, all the factors identified has not been validated yet. Therefore, leading to the future work that's still to be done is that the researcher plans to use empirical data to validate all the identified cybersecurity culture factors. Also, I find it interesting to compare the identified factors in this research with the already existing cybersecurity culture, with the already existing information security culture that exists in research to see what are the differences or the similarities between the factors.